Hey, what's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me. In today's video, we're gonna paint an Alla-Prima black and white portrait in watercolor. And if you've seen the last week's live stream, this is when I painted it, but I cut out all the fluff. It's just the process and my explanation of how I do this. A very fun method of painting in watercolor and a very rewarding one, and one that will help you greatly improve your ability to paint whatever you want, portraits, landscapes, cityscapes, whatever it is, realistically, okay? And in black and white and directly Alla-Prima. So let's get to it. So here's what I love about this portrait. All of the shadows are really consolidated into this area. So what you get essentially is a very consolidated area to work on that very same technique I showed you earlier. Okay? We're gonna use the same method and we're just gonna place the right value in the right place. This is the gist of my upcoming course on values. I want you to be able to look at a reference photo, no matter what it is, no matter where is my pumpkin. Here it is, okay. That was a lame joke, sorry for that, but here you go, you see? Doesn't matter what the subject is, you should be able to render it in black and white. You should be able to see that this, it's not white, it's actually a light to mid value, paint that in. This is slightly darker, paint that in. This is much darker, paint that in. This goes a little lighter again. You should be able to notice these nuances and paint them. And hopefully after the course, this is exactly what you will be able to do. Okay? Remember, we're trying to get an even transition among all of these shapes, but don't worry about it too much. Do not worry about that. Everything is fixable. If you get some dry edges, cauliflowers, that's perfectly fine. Okay, don't worry about that. The goal is to disregard all else and just focus on putting the right value in the right place. So here, it's actually quite dark. And it's a bit hard to see the nuance, but here we go. It's not black, but it's pretty dark. Now you see me constantly wiping my brush on the towel. That's to control how much wetness is in it, okay? Now this area is starting to get a little lighter, but still quite dark. Like this, okay? And let's blend that edge here. So a bit of water, while it's still wet, that's the best way to do this. And just softening some of these edges. Not this one, but these, okay? Eyebrow, a little darker. Let's put that in dark paint. Like this. In fact, sometimes I'll do this. I'll put the darks, and then I'll fill in the mid-values around them. So this is very interesting. Like this, like that, like this, see? It will slowly come to life. It's been a while since I painted this one, by the way, so I may be a little rusty. You will forgive me. Let's blend all of this edge, really blend it. Like this. Go darker in the eye. I don't care about shapes touching, overlapping, blending together. This dark color will blend together, that's fine, that's understandable. Fix this shape, continue on with this. And should I switch to a larger brush? Not yet. Do some wet and wet. This area around the eye is darker. So while it's still wet, do some wet and wet. Whenever I show students this exercise, they're very intimidated. They think to themselves, oh, you have to work super fast. And it is true to some extent, but it's actually a really good exercise. And don't worry about those edges. Again, don't worry about, those cauliflowers or those effects that watercolor creates. Don't worry about them, okay? It's fine. See, I pull this. You can actually use just this to blend some of the edges. You see, that's really cool. Let the paint, like, put a little fun in it. Let the paint kind of do its thing, you know. This nose here, shadow underneath. And I'm going to get the nostrils wet and wet. I'm going to wait a bit. Now, notice something fun. This is actually slightly darker than white, but the real shadow comes here. See here? Like this. A bit of a darker shadow. And I know it may look a little strange right now. You may think to yourself, what is that I'm looking at? But trust me, it will connect. Okay? And if you've seen this demo before, you know it will connect. There's a bit of a highlight here. Let's lift that. Just like this. Just like that. Okay? I forgot to soften this edge. Hopefully we can still do that. And if not, I'm going to get a few cauliflowers. That's fine. There we go. I'm going to switch to a bit of a bigger brush here. See, I'm working as fast as necessary, which may seem incredibly fast to you, and that's okay. To me, that's like a decent pace. The mouth. It's not too dark, but it's also not that light, okay? Let's soften some of this area right around here. And what I love about this is you get a very visceral result, if you will. It's immediate. As you said, you wanted Alla-Prima, you got it. I forgot that this is going to be exactly that. It is very immediate, fun, visceral. If you love inking, you'd love this kind of a technique. Now you see how it's still wet. Let me show you. It's still a little wet. There we go. Around the nose. So I can, but it's not too wet. So I can actually put the nostril in and it's not going to flow too much. You see? I can put the second nostril in. It's going to stay pretty much in its place. So there it is. This kind of a thing here. Got to keep the wash going. Got to work fast here. Okay? Sometimes you got to work a little faster than you're comfortable with until you become comfortable with it. A few shadows here under the neck. This is slightly darker. Let's do something fun here. So I'm going to put the edge first. I'm going to do this. I'm going to wet this area, see? And then I'm going to put darker values onto it, wet and wet. You see? And then you get a softer transition. However, this is a little too dark, so let me pick some of that back up. Here, see, this line should be blended. So let's blend it. Just like that. This variety of edges is what's responsible for the beauty. The fact that we get a hard edge here, soft edge there, this should actually be a little softer, so let me soften that up. See? See this beautiful nuance in the direction? This is actually a, I don't know if it's a cast shadow, probably a cast shadow from the muscle here. So you get a sharp line, but this is a shadow due to the roundedness of this area. I don't know if it's the trachea or whatever, it's rounded. So you get a smooth transition. All of these things you will learn with time, okay? And now, while it's still a bit wet, put in some paint. This is dry. So this, I mean, I can just start working it, or you can give it a spray just to get some moisture onto the paper. And if you're wondering how I can even find my way in here, because the pencil isn't as visible, it's just because I'm familiar with this subject in particular. It can take time. If it's your first time, either do your pencil lines a little stronger, and this should be much softer down below. Upper lip should be slightly darker. Mix that with that other side. Get this pinch between the two sides of the lip, and you got something there. You got something kind of nice. This should be blended too, like that. And we're actually pretty much done with the hard part. Let me kind of improve upon it in a few aspects, get a few things a little more accurately in. See how this shadow really faded? That's fine. Do I even want to play around with this section? Not as much. This I did want to get wet and wet, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So spray from the spray bottle. See, and I got this kind of a shadow there. Oops. Like this. And what I always tell students is once you put in the background, it's going to look much better. Okay? But again, remember, the goal here is to get the right value in the right place as accurately as you can. You can take breaks, you can have some broken off shapes, I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not about the evenness in the technique. Don't get it twisted or mistaken with this exercise. This exercise, the pure goal is smoothness of the wash. Here, first and foremost, the goal is to get it somewhat accurate. And then later on, when you're improving your skill, you will be able to also get it evenly. And I didn't get it evenly in most places. You see tons of cauliflowers and weird shapes. That's fine. I didn't start wet enough. I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, again, once you put in the background, you're going to get a bit of a surprise as it will greatly improve the result. Let me show you. So I'm going to put the hair in here. Hair is the easiest, really. To me, I painted very loosely and impressionistically. So there's a bit of a shadow here, see? And then for the in-betweens, I'm just going to go like this with a bit of a dry brush to get some kind of an effect of hair. It's very impressionistically. I should practice my more realistic hair painting skills. I actually have some the right brushes for that, thanks to John. Thank you so much. Got a few brushes for lifting hair strands and smaller details. But hair is quite freeing again because, see, this is the shadow under the hair. There's the hair, which is quite dark, but then there's the shadow underneath it. But hair is quite freeing because, in this regard, I know a lot of people don't like it as much, but in this regard, it's very loose and you've finished with the harder part, so the rest is kind of simple. So you see, I'm slowly building it up. The dry brush marks help to convey some kind of a texture of strands of hair. Believe it or not, funny enough, it actually helps with that. And then we'll be left with just the ear, which will also be simple, and the background, okay? And yeah, if you've been in the frustration-free watercolor course, you have seen this demo. I believe I also uploaded it to YouTube, so everyone potentially saw this. Hopefully I just did a bit of a better job this time, okay? Now his eye does appear closed in mine. We can try and fix that, or we can just decide it is closed. Let's try and alleviate a bit of that. So this is the lower part of the eye, and the pupil is looking forward like that. So, and it's a bit hard to see, but hopefully here you will be able to see some more of the details. But yeah, now what I told you about the background is going to happen now, the real magic. Okay, so let's flip it actually. Let's go, it's just going to be a little easier to fill up this space. And remember, when you need dark paint, you need also a lot of water. Don't be mistaken by the fact that I'm trying to get a dark paint, so I don't need any water at all. No. If you want to get a real flowy, good textured thing, you really, really need a lot of water to keep it flowing. Like, I'm getting to a point where I need to add more water. And then add more black paint. See? And that way you'll get the flow. Now I need to be a little careful here around the shape of the lips. But because I'm quite familiar with it, I kind of know where I'm going. With the key word being kind of. By the way, I saw in a magazine, I saw someone else, a painter who painted this exact same portrait. So that was funny. Because it's a photo you can find online, it's royalty free. It was a little embarrassing and awkward, but that's fine. And since then I vowed to try and take more of my own pictures. Now look at what I'm doing next to the hair where it's dark. I want that strong contrast, so I'm lightening up the background. See, the background here is much lighter because I wanted to continue contrasting with the person, in this case, okay? And here I can go a little darker. See? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And I'm trying to make sure you have a surprise once I reveal it fully. But in any case, you can see. And this should be a little lower, like that. And what it immediately calls for, hopefully it looks better now, is some details in the lips. Because now the lips are too light. So I'm going to darken up the upper lip just a bit more here. Like this. And then I'm going to do that. And the question you asked about blending once you're already painted a layer, that's where it applies. It's harder. See? It's a bit harder to get a smooth, even result. Again, once it dries, that's a part of the challenge. Now here's the thing. The part above the lip should actually be a little darker. So that's what I'm kind of struggling with. So let's try it out like that, but avoid it looking like a mustache. And I'm going to spray over the whole thing just to keep it a little lighter. And yeah, that's way too dark. My bad. Kind kind of ruined parts of it, but that's fine. Let's do this. Let's blend this whole thing together like that. And now I'm gonna do the black between the lips, and that'll hopefully kind of put things in the right place. So as part of manipulating, you have to know how to, again, fix those mistakes. This is too dark, I'm lifting it. See? So at the very least, you got a nice demo into how to utilize this. You see, real time. You have to control these things real time. And here's one thing that bugs me, actually. The background will help us fix it. If we just go like this and close off this lip and close off that lip. Yeah, hopefully that looks just a little bit better. It doesn't look perfect at all, but that's fine. Whenever you paint this, you learn new things. Like, I never painted it and it was like, oh, it's perfect, it's super easy. But in any case, see, you kind of get the point. This middle section annoys me. Let's get rid of it. This is way, way too dark. I don't need it to be as dark. Let's even use this. Now I'm getting into overwork land, okay? But it's worth it because I don't want it to be as dark. And I do feel like the shadow under the nose needs to be a little... By the way, I have no idea what you're writing in the chat, so sorry about that. There is no way I can focus on this in the chat simultaneously. Oh, I made a big mistake, actually. Now I see it. I made a big mistake with the nose. My bad. Okay, let's do this. I'll actually use this opportunity to fix that mistake. See, don't give up on it. Just keep trying to improve it. As long as you didn't go too dark and it's doomed, it's not doomed. So what happens with the nose here is that this goes down from here and then it complements the shape of the nostrils. So it's more like this. Now, this is a little too dark, yes. And I will blend out that edge right here. Yeah, so I feel like I kind of ruined the nose. But now it's a bit hard for me to see it cleanly because I've been so close to the picture. So I think what we'll do is maybe let go of this one for now. And then continue after the pumpkin to see if we can improve something. Because I'm way too close to the picture now. But yeah, you get a face. It's a face. Okay, it looks like a face. But yeah, a lot to improve here. The lips are gonna drive me crazy. So here's what I see. I do see that the edges should be lighter, just a bit. But is that really that important, or is it just kind of an illusion? I'm not sure. Let's try. You see, I painted this like 7 times already, and still I also get some surprises. Let me look at the photo here. Let's see. Okay, so I actually really like this shadow. Let me try. I'm not giving up on it that easily. Let me try here. This is what you should be doing, by the way, when you're painting. So, let's put a bit of a wet wash here. There is a darker section that goes up like that. Now it does stop here, and then it kind of continues into this section, but it blends out here. Right? So there's a smoother transition there, like that. Okay. Now, okay, I know what I did wrong here. Of course, this isn't enough. I'll actually, at the risk of not liking the result, I'll continue with this section here and help it kind of blend in. Because all of this should be darker, and that'll actually help me. Honestly, I'd probably let it go and make a new one if I wanted to, if I was practicing this on my own. But I do feel the need to set an example and try and push it all the way till the end. So let's try it out. So maybe this fixes the shape a bit. Just a bit, putting it in its right place. But then we have the issue of... I think this should be lighter. I mean, I know this should be lighter. The question is that the thing that's going to solve the face here? Let's see. Okay. Because the lip should be darker, slightly darker in comparison to that. Let me open up the picture a little larger here, because I am looking at a smaller picture. Silly me. Okay. So yeah, definitely should be lighter here. I could even try and use a bit of opaque paint, white, just to, oops, I keep dropping stuff, just to maybe bring it out a little more. Let's see here. Okay, so that's a little better in my opinion. Now the upper lip can be a little darker around that corner. See, don't give up on the painting. Just keep at it. Until you're, like, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing more to do. So when I look at it now, it doesn't, that's a mistake, yeah. It's the lower lip that's a little darker. Got that wrong. That happens. And it is actually a little darker in my version too, but let's try it out. And look at how much I'm repeating and doing, and it is getting to be a little overworked, but it's still, like, it's still possible. You see, I'm still making a difference here. So that's the mindset you ideally want to have. You do see a bit of that lower lip here. And I do think maybe my overall placement of the mouth isn't as accurate as it could have been, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Let's get that nostril a little darker, like that. And this here just a little bit darker, like that. And this lip should be smaller, so like this. And I lost the, you see, I lost the, there we go. I lost this wavy shape here. I think it's much better. Let me see this on the monitor, not what you're seeing. Oh, yeah, that's much, much better. Yeah, it's Alla-Prima, it's messy, it's okay. But it's, at least now it's a little more on point. That's like just part and parcel of painting like this in a more direct way, okay? That the result isn't always going to be as smooth. Now I'm working on the ear, starting here dark near the center, and then getting a little lighter in its surrounding, not too much, but a little. Like this, see, got it in one go. You don't need to let them touch, and that's it. This is a shadow, but underneath it, it's darker, just a bit. So you go like this, and you soften that a bit. Get those very light shadows in the ear, so very light. This paint is strong. Ruth came by. Let's see if she'll actually stay here. So a bit of this here. There's a bit of a shadow right here. This has a bit of a shadow. This has a bit of a shadow. And I believe we're almost done here, actually. I think we're done. Yeah, this looks good. Let's do this. Very bit of shadow, kind of around the bottom, a little more. The shadow under the nose is really not the way I wanted it to be here. All of this, I tried softening it. Let me take a bit of opaque paint to show you, because it's going to take ages and I don't think I can lift that. In fact, I made it worse. Just a second. So let me show you. I'm going to take a bit of it just for demonstration's sake. I should get a white opaque paint, but in any case, this, just imagine it kind of going lighter. See? I don't know if you can tell, and I, of course, I ruined something along the way. I'm gonna let that one go in just a second, but let's cover this. Good. See, this shadow shouldn't protrude, go up as much. That's my problem here. And it bugs me a bit. Try not to let these things bug me, but this one in particular gets to me. See? That's kind of the shape it should have. And it should look more like a shadow. Now, around the nostril, the other nostril, yeah, I kind of messed that one up too. And this could be overconfidence, by the way, because I was like, yeah, I'm familiar with this scene. And this should be a little more inside. That's it. Okay, we're good, we're good. I'm gonna let that one go. Like this. So a little bit more like the where you'd want that shadow to be in. Now, you know, with all of this, paying attention to the small details and obsessing over them, just take a few steps back. Does it look like a face? Yes, it does. That's all I care about. And again, it's not necessarily all I care about when I sit down and paint with myself, not as a demo. But as a demo, there's a lot of things that, you know, you have to talk while you're doing it, a lot of things that influence the result, so I'm not too worried about that. But let's remove the tape, and then we can do the pumpkin one next. So here we go, and this does benefit a lot from lifting the paint, the tape, because you see it has this very clear border. I filled in the entire background, see? So yeah, this is nice. One thing that's also a bit annoying, said I'd let it go, but just need to fix this. This bump here is unnecessary, excessive, and it's not a part of the head actually. So yeah. So we're done with this one. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts. I know a lot of people don't want to watch necessarily a 2-hour live stream for a 20-minute process, which is why I did this. Again, this is a very fun method of painting. You can go at it no matter the subject, no matter what it is you're painting. Disregard the whole watercolor, water to paint ratio, cauliflowers. Don't worry about any of that. Simply put the right value in the right place, and it's a foolproof method of achieving a realistic result. Now, there's a lot to practice here. It's not something that's going to come easily on the first try, but you will get it with time. And it is something you can practice and do. You can do it again and again and again and again. You don't have to second guess yourself when you look at a scene. You don't have to think to yourself, should I do it this way or that way? You know what to do. All you have to do is actually perform it and do it many times in order to improve. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you still aren't. I have tons of other videos, tutorials, art discussions, tools, materials. I talk about everything. I hope to see you again real soon in the next vid.